We have our first sweep of the NBA playoffs. Really, it was inevitable. Oklahoma City, the top seed in the West. Look at SGA, step back, buckets. Started this game 7 for 7, finished with 38. Now, Memphis did make it a game here. It wasn't as if they just rolled over. Made it a 2-point game with 7 seconds to play. Desmond Bane hit a 3. Scottie Pippen with another great game for Memphis. Ja Morant did not play in this game as expected. Suffered a hip injury in Game 3, and really that was the downfall for Memphis. They had that 26-point halftime lead in Game 3, and then Ja gets injured, and the Thunder storm back, down by as many as 29 in that one, and really credit to Memphis for coming out and playing. But they come up short, and they are eliminated. SGA, 38 points. Jalen Williams goes for 23. Nice game from Chet Holmgren as well. 4 blocks in there. And they are moving on, so Oklahoma City now waits the winner of the Nuggets and Clippers in the next round. Get some instant analysis. Welcome in CBS Sports HQ NBA analyst John Gonzalez. John, this was really inevitable, whether it was going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. But credit to Memphis for hanging in there. But in the end, it's SGA and OKC moving on.
Yeah, this was a foregone conclusion. I mean, the second that Ja hit the deck in Game 3, this thing was a wrap. It was a wrap before this, really, to be honest with you, Akeem. I mean, they have now played, the Grizzlies and Oklahoma City have now played 8 times this season. Guess who's won all 8 of those games? It's really difficult to do. We hear all the time, oh, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a row. Oklahoma City's done 8, and if you go back to last season, they've beaten Memphis 13 times in a row. They absolutely have the Grizzlies number. They're the better team. They've been the better team for quite some time. They have the best defense in the NBA. You saw it even on a night, Akeem, where they had a brutal, Oklahoma City had a brutal shooting night. They shot 20% from 3. Didn't matter because SGA was efficient, and that defense is remarkable. So, yes, Oklahoma City deserves to move on. And the Grizzlies, man, their season went sideways fast.
Yeah, it went really sideways pretty quickly. We'll get to that in a moment. I want to talk a little bit more about this game here because you mentioned the poor shooting, but it was the fast break points that were a difference. Outscored the Grizzlies 20-7 in fast break points. And then the turnovers. Yes. We talked about turnovers in the playoffs all the time. This always rears its ugly head in a game like this. And when you're up against elimination, 22 Memphis turnovers, OKC scores 32 points off of those. You can't, look, anybody can tell you this. You cannot give up 22 turnovers and 32 points when you're in a game where you're about to get eliminated. Can't happen.
Part of that is the guard play for the Grizzlies. I thought Scottie Pippen Jr. was good tonight. He's a good player. They didn't have Ja. But this is what Oklahoma City does, right? As I mentioned, they had the #1 defense in the NBA, not by a little bit, by a lot. They were considerably bigger and better than the second best defense in terms of their defensive metric. And this is what they do. They get after you. They're fantastic. #1 team in the NBA at creating turnovers. #1 team in the NBA at points off of turnovers. You saw that tonight. And you have guys like up and down the roster. I mean, you know, Jalen Williams is an excellent defender. Hartenstein is a good defender. Chet Holmgren defends at the rim. Lou Dort is fantastic, is going to make all defense for the Thunder. And then you look at some of the other guys. Alex Caruso is a great example. They end up trading Josh Giddey, who they couldn't even play last year during the playoffs. They end up acquiring Alex Caruso. If you look at his box score today, you're going to go, that's not that impressive. He didn't really make that much of an impact. But if you watched the game, that guy was all over this game, creating havoc, creating turnovers. And in this series, he created significant problems for Oklahoma City. That's the reason why they wanted to get a guy like him to bolster their bench. Yeah, they don't really need him to score a ton of points and be an offensive problem for the opposition. But defensively, man, he can guard up and down.
These teams were 1-2 in the regular season at one point, John, believe it or not. They were 1-2, OKC and Memphis. That was back in late February. Dropped to 5th in the West. They fired Taylor Jenkins. They replaced him with Thomas Isolo. Then they dropped to the 8th seed at the end of the regular season, and here they are swept out of the first round. What's next for Memphis at this point? It is going to be a huge offseason for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, we've been talking about this ending up in this situation for a while now. Like, as I said, it really went sideways for them, where earlier in the season, just a couple of months ago, Akeem, they were the second best team in the Western Conference, in a loaded Western Conference, where you thought, okay, the Grizzlies, they've got something cooking here. And then Zach Kleiman, for whatever reason, their general manager, decided to fire Taylor Jenkins. Well, Zach Kleiman, guess what, man? You have a big offseason coming your way where you're going to have to answer a lot of questions. If he had just waited, Akeem, the timing is the curious part here. If he had just waited to fire Taylor Jenkins, you could scapegoat Taylor Jenkins. That's generally what general managers do, where you go, well, this didn't work out. You ended up crashing out of the playoffs proper and into the play-in, and then you got steamrolled by Oklahoma City. Let's look around. Let's find somebody to blame. Bingo, it's the head coach. Now, all of a sudden, this is all laid at the feet of Zach Kleiman. He has to decide a bunch of different things. Number one, Jaren Jackson Jr., he's extension eligible. He's probably going to get the max, especially if he makes All-NBA. Ja Morant, there's been a lot of whispers about what do you do with Ja Morant. Ja Morant's a good player, but he's had a ton of injuries. This season, he had the hip that we saw him fall and hit the deck in Game 3. Earlier this season, he had a similar injury to a different hip when he went to throw down the business end of an alley-oop, hurt that hip. He had a shoulder injury. He missed a ton of games. Only played 50 games this season. Last season, barely played last season. Had a suspension of 25 games to begin the year, and then he was injured for much of that. And then on top of this, Zach Kleiman's got to decide, okay, well, if I move Ja Morant, if I don't move Ja Morant, is Thomas Isolo, the new coach that he replaced Taylor Jenkins with, is he my guy? So all of this stuff now is laid at the feet of Zach Kleiman, who's going to be under a lot of scrutiny.
John, how difficult would that be to move Ja's contract? I mean, he signed a massive 5-year, $197 million deal in 2022. So we're not even talking about a year or two away from becoming a free agent. We're in the middle of this.
Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way, right? I mean, it's who wants him? That's the question. Do you want Ja Morant, who he's not a great three-point shooter? He's dynamic. He's athletic. He jumps out of the building, which is also kind of the problem because, as I mentioned earlier in the season, when he went to throw down that alley-oop, sometimes his athleticism borders on recklessness, and it leads to all these injuries. But if you had a suitor out there somewhere who said, yes, we absolutely would need a guard who's as dynamic and as athletic as Ja Morant, then all of a sudden, okay, but what are you getting back from him? Just off the top of my head, in terms of who might be a fit for him, an offensively challenged team like the Orlando Magic could absolutely use a score-first guard and an excellent distributor like Ja Morant, but would they want him? Because you'd have to wonder, how long is he going to be out there? He's not a great defender. You need a suitor.
When you look at Ja Morant, and again, you mentioned the injuries. He missed 32 games in the regular season for a variety of reasons because of injuries. You know what comes with him. You know some of the off-court issues that he's had with flashing the gun, with the finger gun during the game, throwing the fake grenades during the game. Like, all of this is, we say it out loud. Sometimes we don't want to say it out loud, and they're uncomfortable, but that's what comes with a player like Ja Morant. So when you're sitting there going, do I want to make a trade for this guy because he's so good on the floor? Is it worth the risk because of what comes with it?
Yeah, that's part of the equation, right? I mean, you have to find an organization and a general manager and a head coach and a team that would fit for Ja Morant. Now, the Grizzlies have been that organization since they drafted him. He looked like he was going to be one of the faces of the league really early on, and then last season was derailed by all the issues that you just said with the gun and the social media and all that stuff, and then the injuries on top of it. That's really, that I think ultimately is what it's going to come down to, because yes, you have your off-court issues, but we've seen in every sport, in every league, if you can play, they'll just paper it over, sweep it under the rug, whatever your issues are, somebody will come along and employ you and give you a big fat contract. But he did miss 50. He only played 50 games this year. He missed 32 games and missed a ton of games last year too, because you have to wonder how much of his body can hold up to a physical NBA regular season when he's pretty slight. And he reminds me a lot of, in terms of his body type, of Allen Iverson. The difference was Allen Iverson always got up off the deck and Ja Morant frequently has not.
He got injured in Game 3, a hip injury. Fortunately, not a severe injury, so he'll try to get right in the offseason. Memphis trying to turn it around in the offseason as they search for a new head coach. Meantime, Mark Daigneault, one of the best head coaches in the NBA. I think people are starting to realize, who's this guy? Oh, wow, he knows ball. He can coach OKC using all kind of different mismatch in terms of lineups. He's got the MVP and SGA and all the pieces around them. Right now, they are listed at plus 160 to win it all. to win their first ever in franchise history. And I'm not going to ask you whether they'd like to face the Nuggets or the Clippers in the next round, because they swept the Clippers in the regular season. Different team now because Kawhi Leonard is healthy, and Denver's a little up in the air because they don't have a head coach right now, and you don't know about what Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and all of those guys are going to give you. So instead of asking who they would rather face in the next round, do you believe OKC is built to win it all?
Yeah, absolutely. I picked them to win it all. I picked them to beat the Boston Celtics in the finals. I've been on them all season long. I was on them last year when Mark Daigneault won Coach of the Year. He's not going to win it this year because he already won it last year, but he absolutely has a case for it. This team has been legit all year long. That defense, that number one defense that I keep coming back to, they can give you so many different problems in so many different ways because they have these long, rangy wing defenders. On top of that, they've got this interior defense that's built up around two rim protectors in Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, and then offensively also top five. So there's so many different ways. Even on a night, like we said tonight, right? They couldn't shoot the ball. They could not make a three to save their life. They shot 20%. Didn't matter because they were awesome at turning the ball, turning over Memphis, awesome at getting out on the break. That's what they do. I mean, they give themselves a huge margin for error. Now, the Western Conference, as we know, is incredibly loaded. But for them to win the Western Conference the way that they did, going away, winning it by double-digit games, and also having the best point differential, not just this season, but in NBA history. I know that there are doubters. I know that people say, well, they haven't done it yet in the postseason, and let's see it. And, you know, they just beat a hobbled Memphis team. I don't know. We had an 82-game sample size, and they just rolled over Memphis. I'm a believer, Akeem.
75th win so far on this day. 71 in the regular season, 4 here. I mean, what a year they have had. Obviously, I'd be rooting for Cleveland to get out of the East and have a Cleveland and OKC in a small market, mid-market NBA Finals. But I know, you know, the executives would not like that in the NBA, but I'd love it to see if we get a 1 versus 1. That would be interesting to see. Kenny Atkinson, the head coach, coach of the year this year against the coach of the year last year, against a star in Donovan Mitchell, against SGA would be incredible. We'll wait to see all of that, but at least so far, OKC takes care of business, leaving no doubt as they sweep the Grizzlies here in the first round. John Gonzalez breaking it down for us here on CBS Sports HQ. John, thank you. And look at this, back-to-back seasons with first-round sweeps for Oklahoma City. And while you celebrate this, you move on to the next one because at the end of the day, you're trying to win 16 games. It's not about what you do in the first round. It's about getting to the final round. And OKC expected to get there and expected to win it all again. Plus 160 to win the NBA title. Coming up, we'll relive the drama from Memphis. Got squirrely late, but OKC closes it out and closes out the Grizzlies.